Okay, so it gives me great pleasure to introduce for his first time at StutterFest. This is Jay, and he's got something exciting to show us, and I've really been looking forward to this. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Tom. First of all, thanks for inviting me. And full disclosure, I am not a person who stutters. But as a child, which was a long, long time ago, back then I was described as pathologically shy, which is now called social anxiety disorder. So I am probably a highly empathetic cousin to PWS. Um, I'm a playwright by training, but this is my first children's book, which I'm about to present. It was originally written many years ago as a Christmas gift for a niece and nephew. I wrote it, delivered it, and eventually forgot about it. And then a short time ago, I was reminded of its existence, and I wondered if there weren't something in there that might be helpful to young people who stutter, and their families, and their teachers and classmates. So I reached out to Debbie Bennett, who's a CCC SLP, and asked her for some guidance, and she was incredibly helpful and generous, gave me some direction. I also received some valuable input from an award-winning children's author named David Elliott, and both of those people are what I would call neighbors. I'm in New Hampshire, and they're in New Hampshire, so we're all pretty close. Um, so I rewrote the story that I had originally written, but before I go into the studio, I wanted to make sure that the NSA was going to be uh, sanguine about it and everything. So I made a homemade recording and sent it to them, and they endorsed it wholeheartedly. So I recorded it in a studio, uploaded it to the internet, and here we are. The story takes about 15 minutes for me to recite, and I'm happy to hear your thoughts and questions once we've reached the end, but please mute yourself during the presentation and then plan on channeling your inner child. So, the Stuttering Magician. On the darkest of nights, when the moonlight is gone, when it's just about 25 minutes to dawn, if you wake up and peek through one eye just a little, you'll see in the sky, right smack dab in the middle, a bright little star quickly twinkle one twink. It twinkles its twink, then it's gone in a wink. But it's there on that star so far out there in space, on that faraway star that our story takes place. In the star's largest city lived several magicians who just couldn't stand city living conditions. They wanted to live in a place that was quiet, a place without sirens and car horns and riots. So they gathered together and chanted a spell, saying, Alakazam, noisy city, farewell. Then they all raised their wands, which they twirled round and round, and then, poof, they created their very own town. And since they were rather self-centered magicians, they elected themselves to important positions: the mayor of magicians, the puller of rabbits, the checker of sleeves, and the chief of good habits. And when all the votes had been duly collected, each person in town to some job was elected, every last single one of the folks in the town except Abracadabra Bartholomew Brown. He wasn't considered, his name never uttered. Why not? Well, because young Bartholomew stuttered. The poor lad would stutter whenever he spoke, which made people tease him or crack a bad joke. He would say, "Ha ha, how do you do?" And folks would reply, Fine, and you?" Just why did he stutter? Well, no one knows why, but it caused the young man to be terribly shy. It made him quite nervous to say things out loud and scared him half silly to speak to a crowd. When he stuttered, his face would grow hot and turn red, so he rarely spoke up, all his thoughts left unsaid. The weight of all this left him feeling ashamed. Until the town's first birthday finally came. The mayor declared, "We'll have a party, a ball, a first birthday ball, and we'll fill the town hall." So folks got together at half after one to sing and to dance and to have lots of fun. The mayor asked the baker magician to bake a tremendously lemony birthday type cake, which the baker was only too happy to do. And so, waving his wand, he said, "Alakazoo," and created a cake that contained so much batter. To put on the candle, he needed a ladder. And when he was finished, the baker said, "There, my creation's completed." "Not quite," said the mayor. "You must write 'Happy Birthday' in icing that's blue." The baker said, "Right. Happy birthday to who?" "To the town," said the mayor. "Has your brain become lame?" "Oh, I know," said the baker. "But what's the town's name?" "The name?" The mayor puzzled. "The name? Let me see. It is No, it is Huh, beats the heck out of me." So he hammered his gavel to quiet folks down and said, "Anyone here know the name of this town?" Well, folks pondered a bit, both the young and the older, then turned to each other and shrugged up one shoulder. "Oh dear," said the mayor. "My good friends, I'm afraid that this town wasn't named on the day it was made." A mean old magician with warts on his nose shouted, "Who is responsible? Who? No one knows? Well, who is the namer of towns? Where is he? Just who was elected? I know it's not me. Who is it?" screamed Meanie. "Come forth if you dare." But nobody did. "'Twould appear," said the mayor, "we forgot to elect someone namer of towns." "We what?" Meanie screamed as he jumped up and down. "That'll do," said the mayor. "If you'll kindly just wait, we'll elect someone now. Why, it isn't too late." "But who?" said the meanie. "Just who shall we get? We've all been elected to jobs, don't forget." "That is true," said the mayor. Then he happened to spy young Bartholomew Brown, who was standing nearby. "Wait. There's someone we didn't elect in this town, and that someone, my friends, is Bartholomew Brown." "Who, me?" young Bartholomew stammered. "Not him!" cried the meanie. The mayor quickly hammered his gavel 3 times and said, "It must be so. We can't have a conflict of interest, you know. This must be official. It must be done right. And this lad's the only magician in sight who doesn't hold office in this, our great town. The namer of towns must be young Mr. Brown." The meanie got meaner and started protesting. "Bartholomew Brown? Oh, you've got to be jesting. He stutters his words. He can just barely speak. If he thought up a name, it would take him a week just to say it out loud." "That's enough," said the mayor. "You're being unkind, not to mention unfair. Just give him a chance to come up with a name. If the name doesn't please you, I'll take the blame." "Let him try," said the folks as they folded their arms. "Let's hear what he says. It can't do any harm." Well, reluctantly, Meanie agreed, and he said, "Go ahead, little man. What's the name?" "Go ahead." Now?" asked Bartholomew. "Now," said the crowd. "You must think up a name and then say it out loud." Well, thinking was easy for Brown. He knew how. He'd seen people think, seen them furrow their brow. So he took up a pose, and he scrunched up his face as he'd seen people do, and he stared into space while he thought about all of the words that he knew. The hands on the clock moved to 2:15. "Have you thought up a name yet?" the mayor gently prodded. Bartholomew turned to the mayor, and he nodded. "Then say it," said Meanie. "Just say it out loud. Go ahead. Say that name right out loud to the crowd." Bartholomew turned to the folks in the hall. They all looked so big, so incredibly tall. Their eyes were upon him, their ears open wide. Bartholomew wanted to run off and hide, but Something inside of him said, "You can do it. You can if you try. You just put your mind to it." So he opened his mouth, but no noises came out. Not one single sound, not a peep nor a shout. "You see, he can't do it!" cried Meanie with glee. "You folks in the hall should have listened to me. I told you that using this stuttering Brown would only end up in his letting us down." Well, abracadabra, Bartholomew Brown had no intention of letting folks down. He summoned up each ounce of strength in his frame, and with one great big effort, he shouted the name. "I named thee Hocus." And then he just froze. He'd started to stutter the name that he chose. He feared that this moment would end in disgrace, so he stopped. Now the heat rushed up into his face. Slowly he lowered his face to the ground, and he moved his big toe in the dirt, round and round, and waited for people to giggle or chuckle, or even guffaw and perhaps bust a buckle. But nobody laughed or made fun of his words. They stood there and thought about what they had heard. They murmured the name to themselves for a while, and then after a moment, they started to smile. Ho Hocus? Ho Hocus! Why, that's a fine name. Unusual, but a fine name just the same. "It's great," said the mayor, "and it's magical, too. I told you that young Mr. Brown would come through." "Not bad," Meanie said. "Yes, in fact, it's quite nice. A clever idea of yours, saying ho twice." "Well, thank you," Bartholomew Brown softly said, "but that's not the name that I had in my head. I wanted to say Hocus Pocus instead." "You what?" said the meanie. The room went quite dead. "Do you realize, young fellow, what you have just done? You spoke all those words without stuttering one." "I did?" said Bartholomew. "Yes, Mr. Brown," said the meanie. "Ask anyone else in this town." "Yes, I heard it too," said the mayor. "It is true that you didn't say one single letter times two. But that," the mayor added, "creates a slight mess. Which name for the town do we think we like best? The name of Ho-Hocus was what we first heard, but perhaps Hocus Pocus is now the preferred? Well, let's see if I can't bring this choice into focus. Who here would now vote for the name of Ho-Hocus?" Bartholomew, still with his eyes to the ground, listened and listened, but heard not a sound. Nobody said yea, but then no one said nay. Could it be they were voting in some other way? Slowly he lifted his face to the crowd. The vision that greeted him made him feel proud. Everyone in the hall had one hand in the air, except the old meanie, and he had a pair. "My good friends," said the mayor, "I do hereby proclaim by your vote that Ho-Hocus is now this town's name. And to thank Mr. Brown," he continued to say, "I declare that today is Bartholomew Day, a day where we celebrate facing our fears." "Hip, hip for Bartholomew!" rang out the cheers. Well, this made Bartholomew feel like a king. He'd learned a great lesson. And here's the thing. It's okay to stutter, okay to be shy. Just say what you're thinking. Just let the words fly. For it matters quite little just how a word starts, as long as that word's coming straight from the heart. And soon Mr. Brown was the life of the party. He served the hors d'oeuvres and said, "Eat hearty." He sang and he danced and he swung from the rafters and filled the town hall with his joy and his laughter. And who do you think wrote the name on the cake? Bartholomew wrote it. without one mistake. Happy first birthday, Ho-Hocus, he wrote. And then after a moment, he added this note. The wonderful, magical, welcoming town named by Abracadabra Bartholomew Brown. And from that day to this, or from now back to then, Bartholomew Brown never felt shy again. The end. Just a one quick shout out, thank you to the town of Ho-Hocus, New Jersey, the inspiration for the story, which was not named by a stuttering magician. Its name derives from the proud language of the Lenni Lenape people, the original inhabitants of the land upon which it now sits.
That's a great story. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
It was very, very cute, and it will inspire kids. It's got great messages, has life lessons. It's a great story.
Thanks. So I originally uploaded this, and it's available as an audiobook. And I've committed to giving 25% of all royalties to the NSA. But for the month of May, to honor National Stuttering Awareness Week, that's going to go up to 100%. So anybody who buys a book, audiobook during the month of May, all of the proceeds are going to the NSA.
What is the title, Jay?
The Stuttering Magician.
Okay. I absolutely loved it. Loved everything about it, as Tom said. I loved the messages. It's great for kids, adults too. I love how it captured stuttering so well. I loved how it also had in there was like the bully and the ally, the one who believed in him. So I thoroughly in enjoyed that. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm very glad, Jennifer. Thank you. Um, yeah, it's interesting when I wrote the first draft, and it was a much more meandering story that went off in different directions. As the gift that I was writing for my niece and nephew. Um, I had sort of a click your heels 3 times with your ruby slippers and everything will be great at the end kind of ending. And when I talked to Debbie, the SLP, about it, she said, that's not where we're going these days. We have a different message. And so she worked with me on that. And it was a huge change. And I'm glad she did.
It was a good lesson for the kids that they they can feel the support of the community. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed your
Well,
story.
I'm hopeful that it becomes something that finds its way into school systems, and that teachers use it as a teaching tool for the kids. It's really geared towards like second and third grade, a little bit older than kindergarten and first. But I suppose if the kid's bright enough, he'll figure it out. But I think it's my dream is that it becomes part of the curriculum whenever there's a PWS in the school.